When Orion, a warrior with hands and face marred by battles, returned from his last campaign, he expected a different fight. A fight for peace, for the warmth of home, for rebuilding the broken bridges between him and the world he had left behind. The war had taken 13 years of his life, leaving scars not only on his body but deep within his soul. The only light that kept him through the darkest hours was Selena, his wife, the star of his life, the promise of a brighter tomorrow. She had been waiting for him, her letters said so, filled with love, longing, and unwavering faith. My Orion, come home. Our garden awaits your hands, our bed, your warmth, my heart, your presence. Every line was a balm to his wounded spirit. He dreamed of the moment he would see her again, hold her delicate body, breathe in the scent of her hair, the scent of home, of peace, but home greeted him with silence. The garden was tended, but not as he remembered. There was something imperceptibly different in the air. When Selena appeared on the doorstep, her smile was warm, but her eyes, once full of boundless love, were now shadowed by something elusive. Guilt? Fear? He couldn't understand it at once, but he felt, something had broken. The first weeks were deceptive. They tried to revive the past, walks, late-night conversations, touches. But every touch from Selena felt slightly distant. Every answer a bit rehearsed. Orion, trained to notice the slightest changes on the battlefield, sensed it at home as well. The shadow hanging over their love was heavier than the strongest armor. One evening, waking from another nightmare, Orion saw that Selena was awake. She sat by the window, staring into the darkness, quietly crying. He approached, embraced her. She flinched, then, pressing her face to his chest, whispered, Orion, I've done something terrible. I am not worthy of you. His heart tightened. He was ready to face enemies, but not this. He gently moved her back and looked into her tear-filled eyes. What happened, Selena? His voice was hoarse, she told him. She spoke of the long years of loneliness, of the rumors of his death that arrived with every new caravan. She told him about Artemius, the young but ambitious advisor who had saved her estate from taxes, who had protected her from unfriendly gazes. He was polite, persistent, and he was there when Orion was far away. He promised her the stability and safety she had longed for. I was lonely, Orion. She sobbed. I thought you were dead. He was so kind. Orion listened, and each of her words was like a knife piercing through his armor. He imagined her with another man, in their bed, in their home, in their garden. The images were sharper than any pain he had ever endured in war. He saw her letters, remembered his dreams, and understood. She had betrayed him when he needed her faith the most. He said nothing. He simply stood up, dressed, took his sword, and walked out of the house without looking back. Orion wandered the city all night. He heard people's laughter, saw couples in love, and every sound, every image cut into him mercilessly. His home, his fortress, his paradise had become a hollow shell. He felt no rage, only unbearable pain, an emptiness more frightening than death. At dawn, he found himself near an old tavern where veterans gathered. They were his brothers in arms, men who understood the language of pain and betrayal. He told them everything. Their faces, weathered by the winds of war, grew grim. Some urged him to take revenge, others to forget, but Orion knew, he didn't want revenge, he wanted to understand. He returned home, but no longer with the same heart. He saw Selena sitting in the kitchen, her face hollowed out by tears. He sat across from her. I don't understand, Selena. I was far away, but I was faithful to you. I fought for our future, for our home. And I waited, Orion. For long years. You don't know what it's like, to wake up every morning not knowing whether you'll see tomorrow, whether your husband is alive. To be strong when everything around you is falling apart. Artemius. He was the only one who saw my tears. He was a support. Orion looked at her. There was bitter truth in her words. He had been a warrior, and he could not protect her from loneliness and fear. He could not be by her side. He defended the state. But he failed to protect his heart from the enemy that entered his home while he was gone. He began to see that the war had changed them both. It had made him hardened and solitary, and her, vulnerable and open to someone who could offer her safety here and now. Orion did not leave. He couldn't. His love for Selena was too deep, too rooted in his soul to simply abandon. But he could not forgive her either. A chasm had formed between them, filled with pain, guilt, and words left unspoken. They lived together like strangers. Selena cared for him, tried to bring him back to life, but her touches were careful, and her eyes were always apologizing. Orion allowed it, but his heart was like a frostbitten field, dead and impenetrable. One day, while working in the garden, the place Artemius once tended, Orion found a small carved wooden bird, lost in the weeds. It was a child's toy he had made many years ago for his brother's son. He remembered that Artemius had a small son. When Selena saw the bird in his hand, she turned pale. "He has a son?" Orion asked, his voice quiet but cold. She nodded, and then Orion understood. She hadn't simply fallen in love. She had been searching for a father for a child, for stability, for a future at a time when she believed he was dead. It did not justify her actions, but it explained her desperation. She had not only betrayed, she had survived. This tiny detail did not heal his pain, but it added depth to her betrayal. He saw how their lives had fractured into a million pieces, like two rivers that once merged now flowing apart. Orion did not forgive her, but he did not punish her either. He kept his home, his dignity, and left her with her guilt and her own loneliness. He began rebuilding his garden, step by step, planting new trees. He understood that his battle was not over. It had transformed into a struggle to rebuild himself, to find new meaning in a life that was now empty, but not hopeless. Selena often watched him from afar. She saw his scars, saw the loneliness she herself had created. She had lost his love, but she had gained a lesson. Faithfulness is not just a promise, it is constant work, something that cannot be replaced even in the hardest of time.